How come we turn out that speaker? Oh, because we're not plugged in? What's going on here? Laptop HDMI. You didn't take the HDMI signal. Oh, wait, is the other end not plugged in yet? Jeez, all this is being recorded. That's awesome. Always do your technology check before you start the recording. Let's see if this takes. Okay, good, good, good. Oh, let's get this. Okay, cool. Okay, so here we are during office hours, getting a little bonus content before class starts. And someone pointed out, talking about Project 4 and what gets refactored, and it's a little bigger, and in particular with the appointment REST client. And made a good point about, hey, should the add appointment, so yeah, hey, right now when we refactored it, we've had an owner and a description, but what about the other parameters, right? About what the start time and the end time? And I'm like, oh, this isn't what I wanted. I didn't want to, my intent was not to pass in a whole bunch of parameters here, but instead pass in an appointment object. So I'm going to refactor the code real quick to do that instead. So I'm going to see where this is called. Oh, I do have it in the appointment book REST client. Actually, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that everything still works. It's been a couple of weeks since I ran this code, so let's see here. Not there anymore. Here I am in my joy of coding, so I'll go to my appointment book web. Before I make any changes, I'll make sure that the clean verify works. But yeah, but basically, I want the REST client to speak in the fluent language of the application, which is appointments and appointment books. So like, I think the get appointments or get appointment book, the get appointment book returns an appointment book, and so add appointment should take an owner and an appointment book instead of a description. Yeah, right. And so then, yeah, we'll just change it to do that. No, I'm sorry, I'll take an appointment. Yeah, that's right. That's what I meant. I don't know what I said, but yeah. Yep. Yeah, okay, good. That's all passing now. Yep. And so then basically what I'll do is I'll change all of these calls to it. We'll start with the integration tests. So here we add appointment. So instead of a description, we'll say, actually, appointment equals new appointment. Oh, it takes a description. Yeah, it takes a description. Okay, great. And then I'll send an appointment instead. And I want to change the second parameter, method add appointment to string appointment. And I'm going to say the description. Yep, that's all good. I can't provide a default value. That's all right. Things are probably both left and right. But yeah, this is what I want. I said, what I probably intended to do, and we just ran out of time a couple weeks ago when we did the refactoring, is to have an add appointment method on the REST API client that takes an appointment object. And that way, again, it's just sort of more in the language of the application. And I don't know, like, you don't need to worry about which string is the owner, which string is the description, which, local date time is the start time and end time. I think it makes it a stronger API that way, which is the whole intent of the appointment book, of the appointment book REST client. Okay, so let's go back and change it in some other places. Let's see, there's another place in here I think it was used. Yep, so we'll just say, oh, let's create a new appointment here. That'll be interesting. Okay. And then I think we also saw it someplace else. And it's also here in Project 4. Let's create a new appointment from the description, with the description. Oh, wait, well, I guess that's probably not all in, because this doesn't compile now. So this is appointment, this is appointment, in here, we have the owner is the owner, and then the description is appointment.getDescription. There, I think it's happier now. And let's try running it again. Yeah, and that way, you can add support for the begin time and the end time when creating an appointment. And it sort of goes through that appointment object, right? And so then you put it in on one side. You can imagine, so like in a project 4, in project 4, when you are going through and parsing your command line, and you've got the odor and the description, you can imagine, okay, great, you're going to identify which parameter is the start time. Then you'll just add it, add the start time to the appointment, and then you need to change the implementation of add appointment to have that be in the URL parameters. Yeah, it's not all the command line arguments so much as it is all of the information that it takes to create an appointment. That's the way I think of it. Right? It's working with, yeah. And so yes, it ends up being all the arguments on the command line go there also, yeah. And as you mentioned, there was that post in Slack about how the date is represented, and the fact that the components of the date, the date, sorry, the start time and time, the date, the time, and the AM PM all get put in one URL parameter that's space limited. Yeah. That's a good point. The appointment, in the appointment, your start time and end time will be local dates. Local dates. So yeah, you'll have to basically have the you'll have to have your project 4 main convert that into a local date time, which you already do for your other projects, right? So it's not like anything new. And then when you go and turn that into a URL parameter, you'll need to use a date format to basically pull it out again and turn it into a string that can go on the URL. No, probably not begin time and end time. Sorry, as the string, you're thinking about calling that. Yeah, I don't think that'll work because in project 3, you modified this to use the short date format. So it's got like 2-digit years and commas, non-breaking spaces, and who knows what else. So yeah, it's probably yet another opportunity to use the date format. It should be the same on the command on the command line. Yeah. So if you just want to pass it straight, that'd be okay too, right? But I think for me, one of the refactorings that I neglected, I forgot to do was to have add appointment take an appointment object, and now you're passing an appointment object into the REST API, which is more fluent. Yeah, I'm glad you asked about that. Anything else I can tell you? No, I'll stop the recording. Yeah, messages class is just there for an example. I should probably, yeah, it's not something that you need to carry forward. Yeah, well, I mean, I think if you start with the code that we refactored together in class a couple of weeks ago, I think you can see how the pieces fit together, and then you can focus on doing things like implementing search functionality, right? That'll be different. That's a good question. So, I think with the search functionality, it's mainly new code or like a complete reuse of existing code. Oh, yeah. Nah, you're not going to use any of this stuff, and yeah, so you're not going to use messages to do the searching. you probably need to make some changes to the servlet to support the augmented get method, the do get method, to figure out what to do when there's only whatever it is, 2 parameters specified, and then 3 parameters: the owner and start time, and the end time, and then pretty print it on the clients. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, if right, and I think you'll get to a point where it's like, oh yeah, right, this is dictionary stuff. We can get rid of. I tried to get rid of most of it, but probably this stuff. But yeah, but then other stuff there as a guide. Yeah, it's all part of the assignment, right? So figure out, sort of what is worth salvaging and what just be discarded. Oh, good. That seemed to work. Okay, so I will commit this now and then get ready for class. Hey everybody, good evening. Boy, I'm looking here at the calendar and we've got 2 weeks left. Time flies when you're having fun. Who's having fun? I got it. Most days. Um, well, so let's just take a look at what we've got left. So this week it's all about Android and mob programming. So tonight we're going to dive into the Android application and we're going to look at how you work with Android. Um, we saw last week how to set up the environment. And I hope everybody's gone and done that just to make sure they can run Android Studio on their laptop and have the emulator working and all that good stuff. Tonight we're going to actually write some code. We're going to learn about how you build a UI with Android, how you handle interaction with the user, and stuff like that. So this augments what's there in the lecture to just give you some more examples of how to work with Android. And then on Wednesday, we'll have our second mob programming activity. And much like the second pair programming activity, you can come here in the classroom, or you can be remote. I encourage you to, well, actually, either way is fine. If you weren't able to make the first one in person, please come to the second one in person. I think I'll warn you that the feedback that I've gotten in the past is that the quality of the remote mobbing wasn't the same as being here in person. But because remote mobbing is perfectly valid, please feel free to leverage that option. Also on Wednesday, Project 4 is due, you've gotten starting to get some good questions on that. In fact, prior to the start of class, we had a great question during office hours, and I recorded me making these changes, but I just want to point out something that we did before class. The question was, hey, at appointment, it takes a string owner, and a string description. When I add the date time, should I just pass all those through too? And I'm like, oh, that's not really what I intended, because as you may recall, the REST client is meant to have a fluent interface, and so I really want to speak the language of appointments. So adding appointment should take an appointment object. So I changed it to take an appointment, and that had some effects. And let's look at the change set that I made right here. There it is. And it's pushed up to GitHub so you can see it. But I'll start down here at, I guess I'll start with this one. So I changed here we are in the REST client. I changed the signature of add appointment to go from a description to an appointment. And now when I call post to my URL and I send in all this stuff with the map, the description parameters, thing still has to be a string. And so I just called appointment.getDescription to get that description. And you can imagine how this would work for the begin time and the end time. Yeah, question. Yeah, I mean, to just be crystal clear, you're just changing the signature at the of the add appointment method. When you call post to my URL, it's got to take a bunch of strings. You just can't pass the object through there. I guess. Yep, yep. And so then add appointment. I encourage you to do now. Look at your code, and so if you're like, oh, I just want to pass in the strings, whatever, it's fine. You're not going to lose any points for it. But what I encourage you to do is, or like the intent of having this fluent interface is that it takes an appointment object here, just the same way that get appointment book returns an appointment book, right? Not just a bunch of strings. And because I changed the signature of get appointment, I had to update things like this usage of it here in the project 4 class from the command line parsing, and then here in the integration test, I had to update the API for for I guess what? Oh, for calling the for invoking the servers. So like I said, Project 4 is due on Wednesday. What else can I tell you about it? How is it going? What would you like to know about Project 4? Is there anything that isn't clear or any options that you're weighing that you want to explore?
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Please do.
Yeah, so when you add an appointment using the client, is client supposed to give anything back without the
Uh,
print?
no. Add appointment returns void. So really, there's nothing no, there's nothing returned from the method call. If a error happens on the server and you get an HTTP response other than 200, it should throw an exception, right? That's what this throw exception if
Okay,
not okay HTTP status is.
okay, but upon a successful addition, there shouldn't be any messages or anything in the client itself.
The client returns void. So yes, so when it returns successfully, that's great. Um, and then in the command line program, if the dash print is specified, then you should print the toString of the appointment, just like you have in all the other projects.
Thank you.
Yep. It was also pointed out that when you pass the appointment has the local date time for the begin time and the end time. And as we discussed on Slack, the URL for on the URL, whether you are creating it or whether you are querying for it, the begin and end time are sent as one parameter as space delimited, as a representation of the local date time. That looks like it does on the command line. Space delimited, date, time, and AM, PM. Sam, you had a question. You were like, I'm going to ask it during. I'm going to ask a question. I don't know what it was.
This was the search.
Oh, right, yeah. Another good question came in during office hours. For when searching, both begin and end are required. Don't make assumptions about what happens if begin or end isn't specified. Don't worry about it. Anything else to know about Project 4? Let's talk about Project 5. So I think we opened up the PDF, but we didn't really walk through it. So tonight we're going to focus on Project 5 and Android apps. So Project 5 is due the last day of class, which is the day of the final exam, August 13th. And I'm grading Project 5, and so then I'll need like the entire week to do that while the graders focus on the final exams. So Project 5 is the last phase of your project, the thing that you started building like the first week of class, maybe the second week of class. Now you've taken your appointment book application all the way from just some simple code that parsed the command line and put together some objects, all the way through an application for a small device for for a phone. And we'll be implementing that small device application in Android. So the goal here is to give us an opportunity to work with I'd say non-trivial, still pretty trivial, all things considered, application in Android. Compared to the other assignments, there's actually only a handful of constraints on this one. There's only a handful of requirements. Really, I want to make sure I want you to leverage your creativity in terms of expressing these capabilities that you've been working with on the command line in an Android application. So your Android app should basically do most of the functionality of the previous assignments. Creating an appointment book, entering appointments, pretty printing things, searching for appointments, right? All those kinds of stuff. However, in Project 4, you don't need to do the REST API in Project 4. It'll all be self-contained there. You're not going to have it talking to some web server. So your server code and all that stuff isn't relevant for this final project. The application itself, I'd like it to have a help menu, and that's where your README is. It's in the help menu, and really error handling. Just make sure that it's sensical and that it looks good in the in the device on the device. So no big stack traces in pop-ups and dialog boxes. Brief errors or some visual feedback when something like a date is malformatted or a piece of information is missing. That's a good way to do it. Oh yeah. So, and also another thing about pop-ups, something over the years which just sort of made me cringe, is we'll see something called a toast for popping up little messages. Don't try to put like pretty output of your appointment book in one of those little things. It's really ugly and hard to read. Instead, put that on a page, an activity of its own, or something like that. But really, that's about it. So, again, this is an opportunity for you to exercise your creativity, to explore different ways of managing an appointment book inside an Android application. We went through a lot of this last time, and so you can go back to the recording. I think that was just a week ago, where we set up Android Studio and we created the appointment book. Please use Pixel 5 API 35 as your device. That's what I'll be using on my laptop to test it. And then I don't know if we'll get to this tonight or maybe we'll have to do it on Wednesday, but you do need to modify your app build.gradle file to depend on the jar file that has things like abstract appointment and appointment book dumper, things like that. So you need to have your project depend on that. Otherwise, you can just copy in a lot of your code. Once again, you're going to need things like your appointment and your appointment book. You will need your text file, parser, and dumper. You may or may not use your pretty printer. A text-based pretty printer is fine. Also, again, feel free to use Android's UI widgets for formatting your appointment book in a way that you think is pretty. Let's see here. Oh, I guess, a note here that's important for dates and times. If you're going to enter them as text, which is fine, please use the same format as in the previous project. Don't make me guess what your date format is. Although I suppose if you had a prompt, that would be nice. But when in doubt, just use the familiar format for the previous project. Let's see here. Oh yeah. One more thing. There is a newish piece of functionality. So one of the tests will be I'll launch your app. I'll create some appointments in it. I'll manage an appointment book, and then I'll close it. Then I'll destroy it by swiping up. And however, I want the data that I created to outlast the app itself. And so then I'd like you to persist the appointment book data. And again, we'll see this maybe tonight or maybe tomorrow or maybe on Wednesday. But there is an API for managing files that live outside of the application. And it hopefully should be familiar to you, but it's something different. It's something that's I want to call it explicitly that needs to be done as part of the program. Some more notes about what I'll do to build and run it. I'll be building it from the command line using Gradle W. And so then those are some of the commands that I'll use. So you'll be developing it in Android Studio most likely, but please make sure that you can actually run in particular this. This command is what I'll use to build it. So I won't be running any of the linters on it, and so then don't worry if like Android Studio is complaining about certain things. I'm looking for something that works at this point, not something that is polished and perfect, especially from the code standpoint. There aren't any automated tests for your Android project, so you don't need to write unit tests. You don't need to write integration tests. You can, but let's be practical here. We've got like 2 weeks left on the course, and so then A, there ain't time for that, and B, you've already demonstrated that you can do all that kind of stuff. So hey, if you really want to, you can, but don't. There is no code coverage requirements for automated tests for the Android project. And finally, after running the emulator, I'll run install debug, and then I will test it by interacting with it, and then I will run GradleW uninstall all to finish it off. Well, to close the application and uninstall it from my emulator, and I'll move on to the next student. Let's see here. So submitting is a little different, only in that, unlike the other projects, you can't run your Android app on the CS department's machines. However, I still want you to submit through the CS department's machines. So put all your code in GitHub, push it up, pull it down, and then run submit.sh with Project 5. The submit script knows that Project 5 is the Android project, and so it'll look for source code in appbook-android, and and will submit it off. Note that the submit process for the Android application is much more loose with what files it allows, so I'm pretty sure it submits all of your files, including a couple Gradle things that I found over the years are now required to be submitted. So this means that hey, if you want to have more XML files, you want to have icons or anything like that, you can go ahead and put it in there. Have a good time. And that's it for requirements. Any questions about the requirements for the project? Yeah.
So in project 4, we were multiple books.
Yep.
Is this one also?
Oh yeah. Multiple appointment books.
Single? Okay.
Yep, definitely. Thanks. That is a good. Yeah, I don't call that out, do I? Yeah, I should. Nope. I should add that. Thank you.
I wasn't sure if that was.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
So.
Do I? I think
Or
I
maybe,
do.
like,
I think it
personal
is one of the
appointments.
test cases. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. A busy person. Got lots of appointments. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, yeah. CRUD. So it's like create an appointment, search for appointments, view the appointment. Pre-print the appointment book. Update not so much actually. You don't need to edit appointments. It's not something we've done before. I'm not gonna be doing that. And then of course there's also data validation, making sure that things are in the right format. That let's see here. Like really, it's probably just date times, and then because there aren't too many restraints on anything else. In a couple of things. There's of course the text file format that gets written out to disk. And then there's also displaying the appointment. So making sure that the dates and times are readable, that it looks good enough. Now, granted, I have a holder, but really what I'm looking for is making sure that I input some data and I have strong evidence that data was correctly inputted because it was saved. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, sort of a list of appointments, and then yeah, and actually we'll see some Android code for doing that a little later on. Yes, the intent is that it's sorted also. Yep, yeah, good questions. Cool. All right. Anything else? I'm gonna start load up Android Studio, but I'll give you all a minute to. Yes. What else am I running that would slow it down? I gotta be running all that stuff. Maybe not so much the settings. Maybe not so much, so. Oh boy, is Android Studio still loading? Oh, here we go. Project Light Edit. What? No, I don't want to open that. That was weird. Okay. Nice. Okay, well, here we are again. Here is Android Studio. I am going to use the device manager to start my emulator. Wait, what? Oh, interesting. So it's installing a new version. No, I don't want that. Well, it's weird. Start anyway. I wasn't able to do this like the other day. Huh. Okay. Yeah, that could be awkward. Why doesn't it? So if I just run it, huh? If I run it like this. Okay, so it's got the app here. Now, can I deploy the app? Okay, so now I'm building the app again. I'll just look at the build go by. Starting Gradle, it's download info. So yeah, as you recall, Android Studio is a customized version of IntelliJ that allows you to have an integrated development environment for Android applications. And what we're going to see tonight is how to leverage Android Studio to build your applications. And with the Android applications, you run a device emulator that your application runs on. And this lets you, see what your application is like. Device manufacturers are incentivized to have emulators for their software so that, people can test their applications on them, right? And make sure that when someone buys that particular device, they have a good experience on that with that application. And so then, what we did last week was we got everything configured. We ran it all, and let's see here. Now we have there's the emulator. It looks like it's starting the application up, and there is Hello World. Okay, good. We are able to develop on the emulator. And what we'll see tonight is we will do development in the application and then redeploy the changes to Android. So for instance, I'm going to go change Hello World to something else. So I'm going to go, let's go find Hello World here. Can I search? Can I say hello? Oops, can I spell Hello World? There we go. Great. We'll see this momentarily. Let's see, go. Minimize device manager. I will. Ooh, it is thinking about things. Yep, let me move this picture like that. There we go. Nice. Let's just go to the XML version for the time being. we have here the definition of a string hello world, and I'll just change this to hello class. And then I will rerun the app. This will rebuild it and redeploy it to the emulated device. Okay, so it's built, and now it's restarting the app. It's deploying it, and restarting it again. Now it says hello class. So this is the development cycle that you go through to Android. You make some changes to source code, and then redeploy it to your emulator, and you can see the results. And as you add more and more widgets, you'll be able to interact with them. There'll be buttons you can click. There'll be text that you can enter things into. All of that good stuff. But I want to start out with looking at the source code for an Android application. So here this is the Android view. We'll go to the project view real quick. Here we have our appointment book Android project right here. So this is not the top level of your Git repository. This is the appointment book Android directory. And inside it, it's got a number of things, including this build.gradle, and it's got this app directory. And the app directory is the interesting thing. So if I go to the Android view of the project, this focuses in on just the Android stuff. Oh, it's got things called manifests, which you won't have to change. It basically gives you a bunch of configuration or specify things about your application, like the name of it. So, like here's the label for the application, it's appointment book. And so that's where, that's what's displayed on the home screen when we go back to the home screen. Let's go back to the home screen. I thought this would have appointment book underneath it. Maybe not. Okay. Oh wait. Shortcuts. Yeah, there it is. Okay, great. When I go to this screen, it says appointment book there, and so I can just double click on it, and it launches it. And it gives you other things like, hey, the icon for the application, all sorts of stuff like that. You can change the stuff if you want, or you can leave it that way. This one isn't nearly as interesting to me as the application itself. There are two parts to an Android application. There is the specification of what you see, the visual thing, and there's a specification of what it does. And that's just Java code. And I'll take a look at it real quick. So there's a Java folder, and it's got tests and stuff like that. We won't really pay attention to that. It's here in my package. I've got something called main activity. Now the activity is the Java class that performs the work of the Android application. And so this is where your application logic resides. And essentially what you do in Android applications is that maybe you'll do a little bit of initialization of what's ever being displayed, but then what your code does is it responds to how the user interacts with it. When the user clicks a button, when the user oops, sorry, I it's bigger here. Okay. Oh, interesting. Sorry, is that at all readable on the screen here? That looks really small to me. I'll see if I can make it a little bigger. Yeah, that's weird. I wonder why. Okay. Sorry, Android Studio, the keyboard shortcuts are a little different. So let's see here. I'm just going to search for increase font size. Here we go. Control Shift dot. Is that what that says? Wow. Control Shift dot. Oh wow. Okay, that's a new one. And then okay, yeah. Cool. Yeah, hopefully that's a little bit more, barely more readable. Anyway, you let me know. So this is the code that that is run right now. It just does a little bit of initialization, but what we'll see is as we make more interesting widgets in the user interface, we'll be implementing code here in this class that actually does the work of the application. So work is done in Java, but then there's the whole question of the layout. and how we want things to look like. And so those are done in these original layout classes. So every screen in Android, you'll learn about this in the lecture, and so I apologize if you watch the lecture and I'm repeating myself, but every screen in an Android app is represented by something called an activity. Right? That's basically, that's part of the screen, called an activity, because it does something. And activities have a Java class behind them, and they also have an XML file that describes what's being displayed on the screen. And the reason it does this is because the visual components, especially if you're coming from like the HTML world, it's much more natural, it's actually way more compact, to represent them in some sort of markup language than it is to represent them in code. If you're just using Java objects and stuff, it can get pretty unwieldy, and you have big methods, and there's lots of setters and getters and stuff, right? Maybe a lot of setters. So here we have XML that describes this activity right here. So I'll start here in the middle. There is something called a text view, which is just a piece of text that has, text of hello class, right? And this is what we changed. We changed hello class from hello world. Now the text view element is inside this constraint layout. So as we learned about in the lecture, these things called layouts, which are widgets that arrange other widgets, that lay out other widgets. And so this is a way of expressing things like, hey, I want these 3 widgets to be all in a row. Or, hey, I want these widgets to be laid out in a grid. Or constraint layout says, hey, I want these widgets to be laid out and constrain them next to each other in certain ways. Like, okay, this one should be above that one, and it should be, it should have equal padding on the left and the right, things like that. And so this is XML that describes all of that. As we'll see, these widgets have IDs and stuff like that. Sorry, where was it going next? Oh yeah, right. So this is an XML representation of it. And if you understand what the XML is, yeah, you can work with this. But it's hard to see what this is going to look like exactly. So Android Studio has the ability to render. Let me make some room here. It has the ability to render a preview of what the how do I zoom in? Because my scroll isn't working. It gives you both a blueprint view and then also a pretty much a WYSIWYG representation. What you see is what you get. Sorry, representation of what the XML, how the XML will be rendered. And so this allows you to lets you to draw your widget. And it's got tools, and we'll see them here in a minute for here in the palette for adding things. So then like this. So you can interact with things here. You can click on things, and then because it's a constraint layout, it gets these accordions that basically tell you that this is going to be centered on the screen because there's equal padding around all of that. Yeah, and so this is how you work with it. So this is actually a really nice tool. Boy, it lets you. You've got all sorts of options and ways of previewing things. And so what I want to do is I want to start modifying this application. So, and I've got some notes here on my phone because it's late at night, and I want to make sure I remember all the details. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be taking this out of the box application, and we're going to write a simple calculator program. Right here, you'll be entering two numbers, and you're going to compute their sum. But my hope here is that it demonstrates how to use Android Studio, how to write Android applications, and gives you the pieces parts you need to put together your application between what we'll be be demonstrating here in class, and also what you can watch in the lectures. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button here. And so there's a button that you can choose in the palette. So the palette has all sorts of different widgets and things like that. I'm just going to start here with a common one. I'm going to create a button. So I'm going to drag it over here on the screen. And when I do that, you'll see that the XML was updated to include a button. And so now I've got the button and I've got the hello here. And I'm going to name the button. So let's see here. I can then go over to the attributes. Things are getting a little crowded on the screen here. And I always have to search for things. So I'm going to search for the text attribute. There it is. And instead of button, I want it to be called show calculator. And so now I'm editing things over here on the right in the palette in the preview, and as you can see, changes are being made over here on the left. Now, Android Studio is telling me a couple of things. It's got these underlined in yellow. That's interesting. And buttons underlined in red. It is saying the following. It says this view is not constrained. It only has design time position, so it will jump to 0, 0 at runtime unless you add constraints. And it's true. So I'm going to run my application here. And what we're going to see is that show calculator, even though here at design time, sure, it's showing approximately in the bottom of the screen, I think it'll be displayed in the top left corner. Again, it'll be given coordinate 0, 0 when it's actually run. Oops. Device offline error. Strange. For the app, why is the device offline? Oh, interesting. So this is running. I'm going to try it again. Huh, it really does not like using that old emulator. That's interesting. That's new. It's always, I did this last time, it was fine. Oops. There it is. Okay, now it's happening. I don't know. Okay, and as you can see, it still has hello class here in the middle, but now show calculator is up in the top left. Oops. Okay, we got to fix that. And the way you fix that is by adding constraints. I'm going to hide the device manager. And so then, and you're going to watch me struggle with this because I always struggle with this. So what you got to do is you got to say, hey, listen, I'm going to constrain hello. Oh, I want to say, what do I want to do? I want to say, I want to constrain hello class to the top of this. So I'm going to drag the accordion to there, and then drag this accordion down here, this one left, this one right, and turn the little white dots in the blue white dots into blue dots, and then I constrain this way, maybe. Oh, come on, babies. Maybe not working. Do I need to delete this constraint? How does this work? I always get like to this point, and then like there's something that doesn't work. So then I go over to the XML. This is why I don't like constraint layout. I don't know. It's like it's really powerful, but it's also kind of hard to get working. I want to say the following. I want to say, let's see here. I want to follow. Yeah, I want to say the following. Oh, I think I need to add an ID to this text view. So, yeah. So you'll notice here in both for the constraint layout and then also here for the button, they have it has an ID. So this is actually a really important concept in Android. Every widget has an ID, and this is how they refer to each other, and also how the Java code gets a reference off to that. For whatever reason, the text view didn't come with an ID, so I'm going to add one here at the top. I'm just going to copy the XML here and put it up here. I'm going to say the ID is going to be, I'm just going to call it hello. Okay. And now can I constrain this here? No, I can't. That's super annoying. Okay, so I'm going to try the following. I'm going to say, let's see here. I'm going to constrain the top of, oops, wait. Constrain bottom to top of, I want to say, there it is, this is what I want. I want to say constraint the top of the show calculator button to the top to the bottom of plus ID of hello. There we go. Now it's looking a little better. So that's constrained like that. This is constrained like that. And this is where I hope it looks okay. In years past, it's taken me like 20 minutes trying to get all this stuff working right. Ugh. Arranging widgets actually is like why I find like the most frustrating part of an Android application, making it to look the way I want. But as you can see, okay, fine, maybe you can dive down and like fiddle with the XML to get the last things right. But overall, it works pretty well. We'll be seeing some more examples of maybe how to use more simple. Good, it looks good. More simple, using more simple layouts later tonight. Yeah, awesome. So good. Now here in my emulator, I've got my show calculator button where I want it next to the hello class. I'm looking over here at my XML. There's a couple of yellow things. Let's see what the yellow thing says. Hardcoded string hello class should use @string resource. Ah, yes. So Android for things like strings, for things like icons, but I think we'll use mainly here for strings. Wants you to take display strings and put them into what are called resource files. These are akin to resources that you use for like your text file to parse, things like that. The whole idea is that you externalize these display strings from the rest of the code so that they can be localized, so they can be translated into different languages. So here I'm going to, let's see here, it's allowing me, it's saying extract string resource. So I'm going to do that. There we go. And it's asking for a resource name, hello class. That's great. It's going to put it in a file called strings.xml. Sure. I'll do that. Now it's a little happier. I'm going to do the same thing with show calculator. Say extract string resource, show calculator. No more yellow. And now when I command click, I can navigate into this. And sure enough, where appointment book, the app name, was here before, now it's added new code for hello class and show calculator, so these strings. And it's even giving me the ability to open a translation editor. That's neat. I'm not going to do that right now, but it's important. It's especially important for phone apps to be localized, right? People all over the world will use your app. You want to make sure that it is usable by them, and that means displaying things in a way that makes sense. Obviously, the language, the written language, should make sense to them. But there's also things that the formats of the dates should be familiar to them. The formats of currency, should be familiar. And Android, through its localization APIs, knows how to do all of that. Can't beyond what we're doing here, but Android can do all of that. So this is cool. I'm going to redeploy again, and we should see exactly the same thing because all we did was remove the or refactor out those display strings. Good. So it looks the same. Okay, a good point, and so I'm going to check in my code. I'm just going to use the same shortcuts that I'm used to. So I'm going to say, let's see here, added a button for launching a calculator. And I'm going to commit and push that to GitHub. Yeah. Sorry, again, please. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I could delete that. Yeah. Yeah. So actually, I can't push it to GitHub because it's not letting me. That's weird. Yes, I mean, so yeah, you're making a good point. So I got a little bit cruft here. Got my hello class. Do I really need that? No. But it's just an example of using constraint layout. Because otherwise, then yeah, we could delete this, and then actually, wait a minute. Let's see what happens when we delete it. So I go back here and I go. Oops, over there. I don't know if I delete this. Okay, yeah, and then this guy is kind of parentless, and so I can move it up here. Yeah, I can do that. Meh. Yeah, do I want that? No, I like my hello. It seems friendly. So I'm just going to revert those changes. Cool. Okay. Right. So, I've got my my app, and I added a button, and I click the button, and nothing happens. So let's have something happen. Um, so, like I said, a big part of what user interfaces do is they react to what the user does with it, right? They say, oh look, you clicked a button, do something in response to it. And so the way that you specify what should be done when a button is clicked is that you assign that you put a value in its onClick property. Oops. And this is the name of a method, a Java method on your main activity that gets invoked when this is called. So I'm just going to call it show calculator. And so now over here it said on click show calculator. Now it's all it's underlined in red because there isn't a show calculator method on the activity. And so I can let's see here. I think I can just have it create one for me. Yeah, create show calculator in math activity. Okay, and so Android Studio added a show calculator method. Now the show calculator method takes an object of type view. And a button, what actually gets passed in runtime, is the button that was clicked, in case you need to interact with it or anything. But our show calculator method is going to do something very simple. It's going to pop up a little message saying, showing the calculator. And Android has this API called Toast, which is like raising a toast to something. And so then toast, you can say toast.makeText here. And okay, I'm going a little different in my script. That's okay. You give the context, which is this object, and then you can give it a string that says, showing calculator. And then there's a constant that is a duration, which would be something like toast dot, they have like length long. So this shows it for a number of I don't know, for a couple of seconds, and so you create you say make text to create a toast object, and then you say then you show it with the show method. And now when I redeploy it, I expect that clicking my button will actually do something. I click show calculator. Oh, what am I missing? What am I missing? Oh, yeah, what does this say? Huh, I don't. Oh, what am I missing? What am I missing? Oh, that shouldn't really change anything. What did I do wrong? Well, here's what I can do. I can set a debugger breakpoint, and we can debug the Android application. Because perhaps show calculator isn't being invoked like I thought it would be. Oh, did someone just joined? That's why we get some trouble. Let's see here. Is there anything wrong in my activity? Oh, it says it's okay. What am I missing? Okay, so let's see here. I think it reloaded. Oh, the method isn't being invoked. Why isn't it being invoked? Oh, because it's not on the button. It got put on the entire thing itself. That was weird. That's not what I wanted. I clicked up here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, that was messed up. I just put it on the wrong thing. But now we can see that, look, you can debug inside inside Android Studio. So because the on click was for whatever reason not put on the button. I must have just clicked on the wrong thing. It was put on the layout. When I clicked outside of the button, oh, now it goes and invokes the show calculator method. And if I let's see here, I can't get both of these on the same screen. So I will just continue over here, and then yep, there it is, showing calculator. Well, let's fix that. That's done. I'll get rid of that breakpoint, and instead of showing the calculator on the constraint layout, I want it here on the button. I'm going to stop debugging, and I'm going to rerun the app. But I'm actually quite glad I had an opportunity to show you the debugger, because you can attack, you can debug your Android application just like you can your command line program or your servlet, right? We did all that debugging a few weeks ago when we talked about Project 4. So now when I click Show Calculator, oh good, my toast appears down here. Showing Calculator is a little pop-up, and it appears for a couple of seconds and then goes away. So that's pretty neat. But that's not what we want to do here. We want to show a calculator. Now, the calculator is going to be a separate activity. Right, we want to change screen. We want to click Show Calculator. It's going to launch a new screen that has your calculator on it. So, how do we do that? Well, so now we're going to modify our Show Calculator method to launch a new activity. Would it be a stack? Yeah, there is a stack underneath it. There's actually one activity can launch another, can launch another, and then you can go back in the app. Yep. Which yeah, actually is the whole intent. So. What we're going to do is we're going to create a new activity here in our application. Actually, though, let's see here. Before that, yeah, we'll just check this in. So, display a toast. Toast when the show calculator button is clicked. And we'll commit that. Cool. Okay. Oh yeah, and it's not letting me push up, saying empty repository, which I don't understand why. So I'll go back up here and git push. Oh, that's Kados. Git push. Yeah, it probably doesn't like my old version of Git or something like that. Okay. So I want to create a new activity. And the way I do that is by saying file, new. Oh, wait, maybe it's not file, new. Oh, it used to be. Code. Let's see here. Notes. File, new act. Yeah, there used to be a way to say a new activity. Yeah, well, that's interesting. Missing something. Edit. They move it on me. Let's search. Let's say new activity. Okay, and I want a very simple activity. I just want an empty views activity. Empty activity, empty views activity. Yep. Did that do anything? Oh, Android Studio, you keep changing on me. Empty views activity. Create a new empty views activity. Yes. Where's opening right split? Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh, I wonder if there's already another one. Did I just miss the pop-up? Nope, anyway. So cancel this. Is there another window that popped up or something? Nope. Wait, what is that? Oh, I don't even know what that is. Okay. Okay. Once more with feeling. Okay, so that, yeah, there used to be a menu item for that, but I guess, oh wait, there it is. Okay. Did I miss those before? Okay, maybe this hadn't initialized or something. New activity, empty views activity. Okay. So this is a wizard that lets you create one of these activities, and what this will do is it'll create the Java file and the XML file and sort of manage this in your application. It's much better than having to go and create all that stuff by hand. I'll call it calculator activity. Yes, generate a layout file, call it layout activity. Great. It's not a launcher activity, which means it isn't the first activity in your application. and put it in my package. I want it to be in Java. Excellent. Okay, and now it's saying add the files that I just added to Git. Yes, please. Nice. Okay, now it's, hey, there's a new activity. It is, yep, it's doing its thing. Okay, and so then it has onCreate method, which is nice. I guess it does all that stuff. I'm happy for it. But now if I went to rebuild my application, well, nothing, it would still behave the same because we haven't done anything with this activity yet. So let's first of all, let's go make it something interesting. So here I'm going to add a new text view, and let's zoom in on this, and zoom in. And instead of this text view, I'm going to change the text to search again for the text view. So there's text view. I'm going to call it, this is a calculator. And then I'm going to constrain all these appropriately so it displays relatively reasonably. It's also just look like the hello world screen. It's exactly the same thing basically. And so now I've got what would look like a nice activity, except I have no way to display the activity. So I'm going to change. So I'm going to go back to the main activity, and I'm going to change the implementation of show calculator to, instead of displaying a toast, I'm going to have it display the calculator. Android has this concept, and you'll learn about it in the lecture, called an intent. So the idea is that an intent is a directive to do something. It can be something like, hey, you just clicked on a URL. Well, display this URL. Or, hey, you want to start a new email message. Or, hey, you want to play a sound or whatever. Those are kind of abstract intents. Inside your applications, you tend to use these like direct intents that basically say, hey, listen, I intend to go to a different activity. So you make an intent, and then you can make it, and you can provide it with the, can't you use, oh yeah, right. Yeah, you make it with the context here, and then the class of the intent, which is going to be the calculator activity class. And now you've got this intent, which basically says, oh yeah, the thing I want to do is I want to launch this calculator activity. And now, let's see here, what is that? Show activity? No, what's it called? Sorry. Start activity, I think is what it's called. Yes. You then call this method called start activity, and then you provide it with that intent. And this will now display the other activity. So let's just run it there. So now I've changed my show calculator method to, instead of popping up a toast, it will show the calculator activity. Then I click show calculator. It displays the calculator activity. Okay, now I've gone to a different screen. Now, it was mentioned that, oh yeah, right, is this like a stack? Yes, you can click the back button to go back to the previous activity. But what I really want to do is I want to add a button to the calculator that'll send it back to main. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly how it works. So I'm going to my calculator activity. I'm going to go to my layout. I'm going to add a button here. Go through all those same shenanigans again. And I'm going to say, let's see, the text here is going back to main. And let's see here. I gotta. Oops. Come on. Can I do that? Oh, I can. Good. This. Is it still constrained appropriately? Well, this should be constrained to, oops. That take. Ugh. Oh. And that is like it. Does it still look okay? We'll see. And here on my back to main button, I want to again implement an on-click method. And it's going to be called back to main. And if I go over to the XML, if I do split screen, we'll see some things that are complaining about. So, okay, first I'll implement this back to main. And here in back to main, I basically want to say I'm done with this with this activity, and so I'll call a method called finish to do that. Now, finish, just like start activity, was inherited by this app.compat activity, which is like there's an abstract activity class at the beginning, at the top of that hierarchy. But it gives you methods like, hey, finish this activity. I am done. Go back to the previous one instead. Yeah, question. It does, or it's in one of the super classes. It probably comes from something else. It comes from the activity class. Okay, that's probably the root class of all activities. Yep. So now I'm going to launch my application again. I can show the calculator. Now I can go back to main. And there I am. Cool. So this is how you navigate to an activity and how you return back from an activity. So you create these activity objects. You don't exactly do that. You use this intent to go say display another activity, and then when you're done with that activity, you call finish. Okay. 7 o'clock. Let's get started on the next thing here. So let's see here. Navigate between activities. Using intents. Oops. And we'll do a good push. Okay. Let's do something else. Let's go back to our calculator. Our calculator isn't very interesting, right? There's no input. So let's add some input there. And I'm going to want, let's see here, where is my, oops. Yeah, this is the calculator. So let's take a look at the calculator. Okay. I want, on my calculator, I want to have the following. I want to have an input that lets you add, I put a number, I want a plus sign, I want another number, I want a button that has an equal sign, and then I want a text display, text to display the sum of those two numbers. Ultimately, that's what I want. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create the widgets. Now, these widgets, I want them to be laid out horizontally. And so there's a layout here called linear layout. Let's see here, linear layout horizontal. Great, I want one of those right here. Okay, and it's huge. This is going to get kind of messy, so I'm probably going to have to go edit the XML here in a bit. But first, let's add some other things. I want text. I want text view. It's got a number. It might be interesting. Nah, I don't think I want a number. I just want plain text. I just want plain text to begin with. So I'm going to have plain text right here. Well, that's not exactly what I want, though. Let's undo that. Yeah. What widget do I want? So I just want like a short thing. Let's see what my notes recommend that I do. An edit text. Oh, is that plain text? What was it even called? Well, maybe I'll just. Nah, I don't want to do it over here. That plain text. What was that editor add? Oh, that is an edit text. Okay. That's kind of nice, but it's a little bit more than I want. But I want that, and then I want, I guess, like a text view. Yep, I'm going to put it next to it. And here I just want the plus in there. And so then text, I won't call it text view, I just want plus. And then I want another plain text after that. Did I put it in the right way? It did not. Super lame. Edit. Oh no, I guess it did. I don't know why I can't see the plus anymore. Maybe these are too wide. So let's see here. Let's I don't want 10 characters wide. I want like 2. I want 3 maybe. Yeah, here we go. So let's make them a little more narrow. Okay, that looks good. I think it can be even more narrow than that. Well, maybe it doesn't need to be yet. Oops. So let's do 3. And then I want to have a button for equals. Buttons are so common. Button. Yep. That's going to be equals. And then I'm just going to do a text view over here on the right, and that's going to be my sum, basically. Okay, well, this is all kind of ugly. Let's see if I can make it a little prettier. I want the text alignment of each of these to be center. And okay, yeah, this is going to look a little better. Maybe there's a way I can do this in bulk. Yeah, this will help it look a little bit. Let's see here. Center. And then here, yeah, I'll make that center also. Nice. Oh, and I don't want that to display text. I want it to be empty. So it's only to display there, initially. Yeah, okay. This isn't the prettiest thing in the world, but we can tweak it later. I don't want that name there. I don't like that either. So I think I just want this to be empty. It's kind of unfortunate it has its default, but maybe that helps. Okay, good. Okay. So now what I've got here is I've added these widgets. They're all in a row. Let's see here. I've got some complaints here, but probably this one is that it is not constrained. Yeah, okay. Then I got constrained this entire linear layout. Let's see here. Well, how do I do this? This one I want to be constrained to the top. Can I do that easily? Come on. Can I just drag it over there? Yeah, that one's to the side. That one's to the side. This one's to the top. Can I do it? Can I do it? Yep, looks like I can. Ooh, IDE error occurred, never a good sign. This one I want to constrain to the calculator. Can I do that? Can I move this? Okay, cool. I really don't need this one to be so damn tall. Let's do that. Nope. But I think I've constrained it on all the sides now. That's nice. It's got some warnings. What's this warning saying? It's autofill hints is missing. Okay, well that's kind of neat, but let's not start that right now. Let's just run the application and see what it looks like. So this is what I do. I kind of mess around in the Android Studio in the development, but I do that for a little bit, and then I go and redeploy the application just to see like if I'm even close with what it actually renders. Like show calculator. Okay, that's not so bad. That looks all right. Let's see here. The equals is too wide. I wonder if I can. Let's see here. So if I go back to here, I say width. See here, layout width, wrap content. Yeah, max width, min width, 88 TLP. Oh, I can also have a specific width. How do I do that? So if I say 40 TP, does that make it more narrow? Oh, it does. Okay, so let's make it 20 price pixels. That work? Nope. Okay, so like that's about as narrow as it gets. Well, that's all right. There's a little bit of room here for the sum. Each one of these. Let's see. What was that thing? There was the layout weight, and then there was also the M's. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, you can read about what all these things are. I'm sure you can do Google searches or Ask AI or whatever to help you out with how to make things look prettier. But now we've got these widgets. And this is good. So I'm just going to run it one more time, and then I think it's time for a break. So yeah, let's take 10 minutes. Do you have a question or stretching? All right. All right. So a question came in during break about the constraint layout. What's it all about exactly? And yeah, it's not a super straightforward concept to get. Basically, what you're saying is like the relative of one, the layout of one uh, widget is relative to other widgets. That's what all these constraints are about. So it's saying, hey, listen, here for the button, it's the constraint of the bottom of its widget is relative to the bottom of its parent, which basically represents this line right here. Oops, this line right here. This line right here. So from the bottom of the bottom of the button is constrained to the bottom of the parent. And same thing for the start and end, I guess, instead of saying left and right. That's probably because you have, sometimes you have left to right displays or languages or right to left languages. So they talk about the start and the bottom. So the start and the end. So the start of the widget is constrained to the start of the parent, and the end of the widget is the end of the parent. And then for the top of the calculator, the top of it is constrained to the bottom of the hello widget. And that's referenced here by the ID hello. So yeah, that's what that's all about. I don't know. I'm not I'm not a very strong student of the constraint layout. I basically get it to work well enough. Honestly, I think the simpler layouts are fine for what you need in this class. So if you find yourself struggling with constraint layout, feel free to devolve to something that's simpler but works. Nice. Okay. Okay, where were we? Okay, so at the in the first part of class, we started building out an application in Android. And we have here a simple main activity, and we added a button that shows the calculator. And when you click on the Show Calculator button, it launches a new activity. This is the calculator activity that has these widgets up here that where you are eventually you're going to be able to put in two numbers that are then added, and the sum will be displayed to the right. And it's got a back to main activity that navigates back here. And this is all interesting and useful because it shows you how to navigate between activities. Next thing I want to do is implement the logic here for the calculator, right? So I basically want to be able to say, hey, listen, have 4 plus, 4, a little bit of lag. I don't want to try out my stylus, thank you. How do you try our stylus? And then I want to say 5. And when I click the equals button, I want it to display 9 over here. So let's figure out how to make it to do that. Now, here in let's go back to the other activity. So I added these widgets here, and I need to give them IDs. I want to give them IDs so that I can give them meaningful IDs, so that I can reference them in the Java code, because it'll be the Java code, ultimately, that implements the logic of the equals button. So I noticed over here that those widgets already have IDs. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sort of looking at things here. Okay, and yeah, so instead of edit text 2, I'm just going to call this left operand, or left summand, maybe better. I don't think I need a special ID for the plus. I'm not going to use it for anything. Over here, yep, that is that one. So I'm going to call that the right operand. And then the equals button, I want to add an on-click to on-click. And I'm going to call this compute sum. Oh yeah, I also want to give an ID to text view here. I'm just going to call that sum. Not sum, but sum. I'm going to create that method over here in my activity. Okay. So what does our compute sum method do? Well, when I click the equals button, I want to get the value that's in the left operand field, the values in the right operand field, compute their sum, and then put that value in the sum field. So what I need to do is figure out how to get those widgets, get the widgets so that I can either get information out of them or that I can populate information in them. And the way I do that is I reference their ID here in the Java code. So view, like the view that's passed in here, is the abstract superclass of basically all visible things, all widgets inside an Android application, inside the Android API. And you can learn all about this in the lecture. And the activity method provides a find view by ID, which takes an int, which represents that resource. Now, Android has this little piece of magic called the R class, which lets you reference, reference IDs, among other things. So you can say r.id, and you can say left operand. It knows about it. And this is all a little bit of magic with the Android Studio and the Android tools, where when it looks at a layout XML and it sees one of these plus ID sums or plus ID right operands, it creates a new ID in this resource that can be referenced as r.id.leftOperand. And so I'm going to introduce a variable for this, and I'm going to call it left operand. I'm going to call it left operand view, actually. Yeah. And it's not going to be a view. I want it to be an edit text. Let's see. Good. And I'm going to do the same thing for right operand. Yeah, question. Yeah, it's basically, there's some magic here. It is, there's a class called R that's sort of, you think of it as like automatically generated by Android. And it's got a field in it. Actually, it's got an object. Class ID. Yeah, it's got a class, I guess, inside it called ID. That's kind of weird. It's lowercase. And then it's got a field inside it called left operand. Right? Yeah. This is where it's just like, okay, just accept the magic. It's like Mockito. This is instantiated. There's like probably one instance of, well, actually, or these. This could just be a class declared inside. I don't know. I can't navigate to R, can I? Nah. With the R class. Oh, there's the R of Android. It's decompiling things. Never mind. Decide later. This is what the Android's R class has, and it's got all sorts of weird stuff. It's like style. Let's see here. It's got to have an ID here also. Can I find ID? Yeah, there's ID. Oops. Oh, bother. Class ID. Yep, and look, it's got a whole bunch of constants that are all, IDs stuff. Yeah. Beyond the scope of what we're doing tonight. Yeah, it's probably good to understand if you're going to be doing a lot of Android development, sort of understand the ins and outs. For us right now, not necessary. So I want to get the left operand. I also want to get the right operand. View. Right operand. Oops. Right operand. And now I want to get the text in those. Let's see here. Get off the text. I can never remember get text. Well, that's not exactly what I want, is it? Yeah, I do. Okay. Get text and then get the toString value of that. So get text will return this editable text thing, editable object. We can use the string value. That will be the left operand text. And then get the right operand too. And now you're in Java, so you can do things like, well, I want to have my int, which is going to be, left operand equals left operand. I'll actually say integer.parsons, sorry. integer.parsint and left operand text. And I'm going to duplicate that again and say right operand is going to be right operand. I think I messed that one up there. Right operand should be right operand. And now I want to compute the sum, and that's going to be left operand plus right operand. And now I want to get the find view by ID. I want r.id.sum. This is going to be, I'm going to call it the sum text view. I'll call it the sum view. Oops. And then this is going to be a text view. Oops. Text view. I mean, note that here in the Java code, I'm using edit text and text view just like what appears over in the XML file, because that's exactly what these are. These are Java classes, and you are you're basically setting properties of all those of an instance of that Java class with all of this XML. Because you can express all of this in Java, it's just super ugly, and it's the Java code is much more verbose than the XML. And I'm sure some people would argue that the XML is super verbose too, but this is what I find like a nice happy medium. So I'm going to call some view, and I'm going to say set text, and it's going to be string.value of the sum. Yeah, that was good. So I will then see. I've got my compute sum. It goes and gets the widgets, the left operand, the right ID, gets their string values, turns them to ints, computes the sum, gets the sum field, the sum widget, and then sets the text there. So I think we're good to go. Let's see what happens. Okay, show calculator. And we'll do 4 plus 5 equals 9. That's kind of nice. And then we can do, 4 plus 7 equals 11. Great. And we do 4 plus q equals nothing. Oh, wait. Oh. It started over again. That's not good. Oh, let's try it again. Okay, so 4 plus q, plus q equals, appointment book keeps crashing. Well, that's interesting. So, what do you think happened? Why doesn't it like to letter Q? Yeah, there's an exception that happens sometimes. Okay, so where do you think that exception's happening? Yeah, and it's probably this integer.parsint, right? Because we're trying to parse letter Q as an integer, and it's throwing a before my exception. Okay, no problem there. So then we'll just, this is Java, we'll just do a try catch. Okay, we'll split into declaration and assignment, and we'll wrap a try catch around it. And we'll catch a number format exception that we use. Gee, I don't have AI enabled in Android Studio, and it's so quiet. Anyway. And now here, I'm going to put up a toast. So make toast, make text. Context is this. And I'm going to say invalid left operand text, and toast dot length long dot show. Nice, and I'm going to do the same thing down here. Split that in declaration assignment to try. Oh, I want to return here. Sorry. And then I want to do exactly the same thing for the right operand. Invalid right operand. that's a good question. So, like, what do you return to? Well, what calls this? It's really the Android runtime, right? You click the button, and the Android runtime knows, oh, there's a button here, and it was just clicked, and so then it reroutes it to the reroutes execution to the compute sum method, and then you can return there. Actually, that's a good question. We can answer that, I suppose, by debugging, because then we can look at this call stack. I don't know if it's going to make any sense or anything. Oh, it's waiting for debugger. So calculator, let's do 1 plus q equals q compute sum. Let's see here. It's loading. It says 15 hidden frames because they're all super uninteresting. How do I show zoom all threads? Export threads. Oh, hide frame from libraries. Okay, great. Okay, so I mean, yeah, here's all the stuff. It's like there is an on-click method here, then that's called by view, and there's something called a material button, and blah 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 blah. Right? I mean, I don't think any of this is meaningful to anybody really, but I guess it shouldn't be so surprising. It's just like when your servlet is called, and like, oh look, the do get method. I know what that is. I wrote that code. And then you look at the call stack. It's like, what the hell is all this stuff? It's a whole bunch of Tomcat it's a whole bunch of Jenny stuff. It's like, okay, that's all neat, but we will hide frame from libraries. I will not decompile this. Instead, I want to hide frame from libraries. Yeah. So anyway, that's what calls it. And okay, I'm so sorry I clicked that button. That too. Great. And so, yeah, so here we are. So now, when we continue in the debugger, you probably missed it. Oh, yeah, there was invalid write operand queue. Okay, good. Oh, look, error handling, right? So this is something that you probably want to do in your code. Now, alternatively, we could do things, well, we could do something like this. Well, let's see what happens if we do this. Can we, oh, let's see here. This would be the left operand dot, left operand view set. Do I remember? Is there a set border? Oh, there used to be. Yeah, I don't. You can do things like turn the border red, and you can, or have like a little error message that pops up near it and stuff like that. Anyway, user creativity, right? Have fun. Nice. Yeah. So now, I mean, I've got. Let's see here. I don't want to debug this anymore. I'll just run it. Now I think I've got pretty much the application working the way I want. I don't think I need to add anything else to this. Yeah, to this particular example. Sorry, what? Yeah. Yep. Following along at home. Nice. Okay, so now I'm going to run the app again. So calculator. Now I can do 4 plus 5 equals 9. I can do 4 plus q equals valid right operand. I can probably also test the, it resets all the values, which is kind of interesting. R plus W equals invalid left operand R. Okay, this is all working pretty well. Nice. Okay. I'm going to commit this code and push it up. I'm going to say implement the equals button functionality. Okay. Now, okay, for my next trick, magician here, I want to compute a sum. So compute a sum with 3 plus 4. And when I click back to main, I want to tell the main activity the sum I just computed. right? Because one of the things you can do is you can pass information back and forth between activities, which is pretty useful, right? You open an activity, you have to do some stuff, maybe enter some data, do some things, and then send the result back to another activity. So the way I do that is that I use an intent, and the 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 activity has a result intent associated with it. So it can say, listen, I'm done with my I'm done, and here's what my result was. So here I want to implement the following. Let's see here. I compute the sum here, but I really want to use the sum in back to main. So before I finish, I want to tell whoever called me, hey, listen, my result was the sum. So I need to put this into a field, this dot sum, and so now I'm going to create that field sum. It's going to have a value of 0 initially. Nothing wrong with that. And now here in back to main, I'm going to do the following. I'm going to create an intent. And yeah, I'm going to create a new intent. And the intent really doesn't have anything associated with it. And what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to, intents can carry additional data associated with them. So there's this called extra data. So, and all the extra data has is a name and then a whole bunch of different, yeah, a whole bunch of different values, of different kinds of values. So here I'm going to give it a name and I'm going to call it sum value. Oops. Nope. And then I'm going to have the value be this dot sum. I'm going to create this constant here, create constant. And I'm just going to give it a name of sum. I'm going to yell real loud, I guess. And I have that intent there. And before I finish, I want to call set result. It takes two things: a result code, which basically says, hey, did I do okay? Did I exit normally? I'm going to say yes, so it's going to be result okay. And then I'm going to pass some data along with it, which is my intent. So now what this is doing is saying, hey, listen, when I go back, before I go back to main, before I finish my activity, I'm going to say, oh, and by the way, I had this result, I had this intent that contains this sum. So that's all very neat. But now I need the main activity to figure this out, to know this. So I'm going to go back to my main activity. And I'm going to change things a little different. Instead of saying start activity, I'm going to say start activity for result. Now, this is a deprecated API, but it still works. It's fine. And I need to say, yeah, this is the intent that I'm going to start with activity. And then I need to tell it what this request code is. And so request code, this is why the API is deprecated. It's a little clunky, but it works. The request code is basically an indicator of like what activity I started or what kind of thing I'm expecting. So I'm going to, the request code I'm going to say is get sum. And so then, oops, there we go. Nope, once more with feeling, that one. I'm going to create that constant here in the main activity, and let's call it 42. Why not? So I'm going to start the activity for the result. I'm going to say, hey, listen, I'm starting this activity, and its return code, its operation code is going to be 42. Is going to be good. So okay, great. Now I go off and show the calculator that way, and but now I need to. But I still need to. I need to respond to the fact that the activity completed, that the calculator activity completed. So I do that by the following. Activity has a method called onActivityResult, which is called when one activity launches another one, and then the original launching activity is reactivated again. So I'm going to override that method. So I'm going to say, let's see the code, override methods, and it's going to be onActivityResult and on, oops, activity result. No, I think I'm spelling it wrong. Activity result. There it is. Great. And it passes in a request code, a result code, and then an intent that was passed into. The first thing you need to do is call super.onActivityResult. That will do some bookkeeping from the parent class, and now you're free to do things. And so I'm going to do the following. I'm going to say, hey, listen, if the activity result that I get is getSum, so if the activity, let's see, if the request code is getSum, how's it doing that? GetSum. And if the result code is result okay, meaning like, hey, it was fine, or was complaining about nested if statements or something. Fine, I don't know about it. And if the data that was passed in is not null, then I'm going to do the following. I'm going to get the sum that was computed out of the intent. So get int extra with the name of the extra, which was over on calculator activity. So here's where I have the name for that. I'm going to say sum. Oh, I didn't make it. I made it private. That was bad. This should be packaged. And this is the constant, because I'm going to use the constant over here in the main. I'll call it sum value. And then this also takes a default value of 0. And now I'm going to pop up a toast. I'm going to say toast.make text. And I'm going to say this is the context. I'm going to say sum. Sum was sum. And I'm going to do toast.long. I'm going to show it. So again, what is it complaining about? Is always false? You're right, because this should be result code, not request code. Thank you, Aggie. Okay, so what did I do here again? Okay, I went over and in the calculator, I said, hey, listen, when I'm done, save off my, put my sum value in this intent saying, hey, here's a result of invoking my activity, right? And then over here in the main activity, I said, hey, listen, when you launch that activity, it's going to be, I care about the result. So keep track of the result, and the result that I'm interested in is getSum. And then I overrode this onActivityResult method, which receives the callback, which is invoked when the main activity is reactivated after the result of another activity. And it says the following, hey, listen, if I'm being invoked because the getSum request returned a result okay, then look at the data. As long as it's not null, go and get the extra data for some value that was populated in there and put it in a toast. Maybe not the most natural API, but you sort of get used to it. This is one of the things about UI programming. Actually, I've really come to appreciate is that it's asynchronous, that it's kind of abstract, and that you're passing data back and forth. And so then, even more so than in your servlet, you're kind of swimming in this environment where you're like a very little piece of this overall Android device. And that's okay because it's the piece that it's important to your user. So I'll do show calculator. I'll do my 5 plus 6 equals 11. I'll click back to main. Oh, and there was the toast. Sum was 11. Popped up right there. So cool. This is how you can pass data back and forth between activities in Android. So pass the sum from the calculator activity to the main. But wait, there's more, but before I continue on, I don't know, anything that's on your mind. Anything that I can tell you, anything that you've seen that you'd like to explore a little bit more, or something you'd like me to cover again, or expand upon. Yeah.
So, this is like backtracking to
Yes. And that's a very low-level way of thinking of it, which is I would expect from like every interaction we've had. But yes, yeah, you want to understand things at a low level. So yeah, there is a stack of an activity calling activity, and you're basically, when you start the activity, you push something on the stack. When it finishes, it pops off, and now you're back at the place we were before. Well, and that's what happens when you click Show Calculator. Oh, to send it the other way? Yeah. Yes. I mean, so yeah, you can. That's a great question. So Show Calculator. Yeah, I can. I think I can. Yeah, you can say intent dot put extra, and then let's do something fun. Let's see. Let's say like current time, and then new date. I think I can do that. Very constant, and this will be yep current time. And then new date. And then, how do I get at that? I need to, is it on create? Probably not. Or maybe it is. Is that bundle saved instances or get intent? Yeah. This might be, I think this is how you get it. Let's find out. Yeah, and then, oh, is it on? Yeah, on create will probably be good. And then, I don't know, let's put a toast. And then say, oops, context is this, and then the current time is, well, let's see here. Well, let's just find out. Intent dot get extra, get parsable, get serializable extra. I wonder where that is. There's parsable nonsense. Let's just try serializable extra. And then main activity dot, oops, I make it public again. Yeah. Main activity dot, I don't know if it's going to work or not. Oh, and then saying first have a, oh, you give the class. Okay. Oh, yeah, you give the class, he says. Yes, date.class. Report. It doesn't like that. Cannot resolve. I'll make text. Time. Very nice. Toast. Long. Show. Yeah, we'll just try real quick. So yeah, I think what getIntent does is it returns the intent that was, used to spawn to create this calculator. Let's find out. Yeah, there it is. Current time is, there you go. So you can do it that way, I guess. Yep. And so then, yeah, you can do whatever you want. We could have a field that that displays the date, something like that. Well, that's kind of neat. Yeah, nice. Right on. So let's put that in there too. Pass the current time to the calculator activity. Okay. Okay. So now we have, but getting back to our example, we have the sum 5 plus 6 equals 11, and you go back to main, and we get the sum was 11 that was passed back here. Now I want to keep track of all of the sums that have been computed ever. Because why not? So there's this class called ListView, and I go into a lot of detail in the lecture notes, but I want to show it to you here. And so what ListView does is it views, well, a list of data, and you can populate that data, and it'll display it. So I'm going to add a list view here to my main activity. So I'm going to go to my activity main. I'm going to play games with all this nonsense again. I'm going to add a list view. I'm going to search my palette for a list view. Okay. There is a list view. I'm going to put it right here. And of course, it's all the nonsense. But let's see if I can constrain it to top, top to bottom. Oh, whoops, what was that? Top to hello bottom. That one's constrained. That one is constrained now. Looks like it's got all 4 of them. That's pretty good. The top, let's see, constrain the bottom of list view to the top of the button. Top of list view to the bottom of hello. Actually, that looks pretty good. Okay, so let's get this example of what list views look like right here. Although if I actually go and launch this, I'm pretty sure it's empty. It's not very interesting right now. But list views are pretty cool because, well, they allow you to, they give you a list of data. And so what we're going to do is we're going to populate this with the list of all the sums that are returned by our various invocations of the show calculator activity. So yeah, there's a big blank space here again, and this doesn't really do anything yet. So I don't know if I'll go through this again. Now, okay, so now we've got a list view there, and now we want to populate that list view. Now we're going to populate. So the list view has this nice, it's a view over a bunch of data. So there's an underlying model, and all that model and all that kind of stuff is maintained in Java code, right? So that's like the objects that are displayed there in the list view. And so you'll learn about it in the lecture, but there's something called an array adapter, which basically gives you, an array of data that is then viewed in the fields. In the list view. So back in my main activity, I'm going to do the following. I'm going to add an instance field here, private final array adapter of integers, and I'm going to call these sums. New array adapter. Why is it yellow? Oh, array adapter, and I guess I really can't create this here in the constructor. That's fine. And then I'm going to say, okay, this can't be final because it's not initialized in the constructor. So I'm going to just initialize it here on create. I'm going to say this dot sums equals new array adapter, and then the context will be, this gets a little tricky. The context is this, and then this is kind of an interesting thing here. It needs a prototypical resource to then render each row in the table. It's just kind of the way it works, which is which is interesting. And so then, I don't have there it is. Yeah. Right. Yep. So it's okay. So then I always go back and look at my notes on this one because it's kind of some magic. So it's Android. This is where you use that Android.r. So not the one for my application, but the one for all of Android. And then I recommend that we use what's the one that's worked well for me? Simple list item. Oops. Hold on. Oh, what does it look like? r.id.simple. Nope, sorry, it's not r.id, it's r.layout. Simple list item 1. Again, I figured this out along the way, the hard way. I don't remember even why that works, but it seems to work. So I create this array adapter instance right here. See? Yeah, create. That's cool. And also, whenever I create the, I create the array adapter there, and then I want to get the sums list view right here. So I need to give it an ID. So I'm going to call it, I'll copy that from here. I'm just going to paste it down here. I'm going to call it sums. Good. And over here, I'm going to go get the list view. I'm going to call it sums view equals, I'm going to import that. And I'm going to say find view by ID, and then that is the application to r.id.sums. Nice. Oh, it doesn't look there. Activity main is not going to. Oh, I just added one. What did I do wrong? Plus ID / sums. With the list view in activity main. What did I get wrong? Huh. It's funny. What did I get wrong there? The list view has an Android ID of plus ID / sums. Okay, well, does it build anyway? And it's happy. Okay, it just hadn't refreshed. Fair enough. And now I need to do something very important. I need to say sumsView.setAdapter to this.sums. So basically what this does is it says, hey, listen, the underlying model for this list view is this array adapter right here, which is basically a bunch of ints, and associate this adapter with the list view that's there in the UI. So that's cool. So now I've basically hooked up the list view to display all of the integers that are in this sums array adapter. And this is nice because we've hooked everything up, so now all we need to do here is instead of saying the sum, we'll get the sum in. So instead of putting up toast, we'll say this.sums.add sum. And so then we add in, and we basically add this to the array. And this array adapter has all the smarts to then notify the UIs, like there's new data to display, please display it. And I think, yeah, that's everything I need to do. Okay, nothing on my list. So I will show the calculator. Yeah, current time, that's great. 4 plus 5 equals 9, back to main. And now 9 shows up in my list. I then have a 6 plus 4 equals 10. And now 10 shows up in my list. Okay, cool. So we are passing data back and forth between activities. We are populating one of these lists with the information that comes back. Cool. Okay, let's commit this. Okay, a couple more things, only a couple more minutes. So show the lists of, well, show the sums from the calculator. Calculator in list. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is I want to take this list of sums that I'm building up, and I want to write it out to a file. And a file here on my Android device so that when I kill the application, rather when I terminate the application and restart it, I want that list of data to come back because right now it goes away. Okay. So, yeah. So now, in addition to adding the sums to this to the array adapter, to the list of things that are displayed, I also want to write sums to this file. So I'm just going to create a method here to do that. Okay. So Android has this is where. Let's see here. Oh, it might not work because it's not It's not seeing it because it knows it's running, but it's not attached. So open in Device Explorer, maybe? Ooh, yes, this is it. Great. So the Device Explorer lets me look at the contents. Now, there's a file system on the device. As a matter of fact, Android isn't magic; it's Linux, right? So it's got everything that you'd expect. And actually, that's what makes Android so great is that it's a real operating system with things like real users and a real file system and all this kind of great stuff. So every application has something called a data directory, which is off in data user and then user 0, and then you look for the edu PDX. It's here someplace. I can search it, but oh my goodness, so many things. See, in Android, every application has its own user, which is actually a really smart way to do it because then you just use Linux user permissions to isolate things. Right, so in here is the data directory, and then it's got all sorts of stuff in here. This probably isn't so interesting. It's actually empty right now, but what we're going to do is we can use an API to basically get access to this directory so we can write stuff. So the way we do that is the following. There is a method on the activity called getDataDir, and it returns, wouldn't you know it, a Java I/O file. Yay, an API that we've been using for a long time. And so I'm just going to use the file API. I'm going to say, file sums, that's called a sums file, I guess equals new file there in my data directory. I'm just going to call it sums.txt. And then we're going to do the following. We're going to say try, and we're going to make a print writer equals new print writer around a file writer. Okay, let's make this small so we can see this. Right, this is all Project 2 stuff, right? You can use the same APIs in Android. This is just so great, right? You've got the power of essentially the entire Java development kit. There, all those APIs. So the new file writer for the sums file. Oops. Sums file. And it's probably throw some exception of some sort. Yeah, I'm going to. I'm gonna add this method signature. Make it figure it out. And then we're going to say, let's see here, this dot sums. So this is the, can we get an iterator over it? Can we say for each? What can we do? We can get an item at a position. Maybe that's what we have to do here. Yep, okay, well, whatever. So is there size? Items, get item here ID. Come on, position. Count. Count. There you go. Makes no sense. For int I equals 0, while I is less than this stuff like get count I plus plus. And then we'll say int sum equals this dot sums dot get item at position I, and then we will. That doesn't work. Unboxing of get item. Nah, yeah. And then we'll say pw.println sum. And here we need to catch. We need to show that we'll try catch, and we'll say toast.make text. Context is this, and then we'll say while writing sums file ex, and then long. Toast.long. I'll do it in a moment, and then show that. Oops, it's called e.ex. Okay, that's looking good. I'm going to run it and take a question. Yeah. Yes, just like in Project 2. Yeah, I don't know. I'm lazy like that. We're not talking about writing gigabytes of data, so you're okay. Okay. Show calculator, we will have 4 plus 6 equals 10. to main. We have the number 10. And now, if we refresh over here, go to files. Where is it? Oh, we don't have. We need to upload synchronize. Oh, there it is. Okay, we have to synchronize that, and now we have sums.txt. And you can open it up by double-clicking on it, and there it is. It's got the number 10 in it. Okay, and so now if we let's add another one, we will show the calculator, and then we will say, 5 plus 6 equals 11. Go back to main. Now we've got 10 and 11, and sure enough, if we open up this again, it's got 10 and 11. So look, now you're writing files. Okay, so now you're writing files, but now if I close the application, really, and I start back up again, no numbers because I'm not reading them in, so now I just got to read them in. And so now here in onCreate, we will say, we'll say the following. Oops. After we create this, then we'll say read sums from file. And we will create this method. I'm going to move this method down to the bottom so it can be with the other code. So I can just keep it close by because I want to do the following. I want to turn this into a method which is get sums file. Okay. And now I can just use that as part of the thing. Let's inline that variable. And then I'll do the following. I'll say file sums file. Sums file is that. If not sums file exists, then return because I don't have to read. Otherwise, Otherwise, we will do the following. We'll do a try. We'll make a buffered reader. Br equals new buffered reader around the file reader around the sums file, and we'll add the exception there. Oops, what doesn't like? Unhandled exception were auto-closable. Isn't that what I just added? I guess I didn't. Add hash bars. No, I wanted to add to signature. There we go. Great. And now we'll do the following for string line equals br.readLine, while line not equals null, line equals br.readLine. So I'm sure there's a better way to do it these days, but this works. So that's the line, and so now I want to turn that into an int. So I'll say int sum equals integer dot parse, and yeah, I know I should catch the exception. Okay. Line here, and I want to say this dot sums dot add sum. Nice. So what I'm doing is I'm reading each line and turning it into an integer. I'm adding it to the sums, which is that array adapter that I had before, and now I probably have a null. This thing, it needs to have a try catch around it again, and I'll say toast. Actually, okay. Sorry, I'm just like super lazy. Let's do this. I'm going to copy this and move it up there. Okay, while reading sums file. Great. Okay, now let's reload it and see that. Oh, and there it was. It read them. It started up, and there they are. So now I can say I can do 7 plus 5 equals 12. Back to main. Now I can stop it, start it again, and they shall free it. Okay, look, we're persistent to a file. Awesome. So we're at time, so I'm going to stop. I do have one more step. I'll show it off on Wednesday, no problem. Let's see here. Persist the sums to a file. So this is what Android application development is like. So you've got this tool called Android Studio, and it lets you do basically everything you need to do to develop an Android application. Everything from running the emulator, and then of course doing the build cycle for your application. You modify the source code. There are two types of source code that we saw. Yep, there was the Java code that had all the application logic, but there was also those XML files, which you have the designer editor that allows you to display the look of your application, right? To lay out widgets, to size them, to have display text, all that kind of stuff. And then we went through and we saw a number of things that we can do, and basically it all boils down to having Java code that gets the appropriate widgets from the view, from the UI, and doing things with them. Saying, hey, you're a text field. What field do you? What text do you contain? I'm interested in that. I will do something with it. Oh, a button was clicked. Okay, what do I do in response to that button click? And then we saw how you can have multiple activities, multiple screens in your program. You can pass information back and forth. And we also finally saw that you can persist data out to the file system for your Android application to do all the cool stuff. Thanks. Okay. That's everything I got for tonight, everybody. On Wednesday, Bob programming. So be here in the classroom or be remote. But please be sure to be here, though. It's important that you have a second opportunity to do that. I look forward to seeing you then. Good night, everybody.